I want to salute you, homie, for building your own thing and doing your own thing, creating your own platform, your own website.
With my boy Alfred on Mr.Taliaferro.com.
Mr.Taliaferro.com.
Right now, I'm about to go to Walmart.
Just to see you with your logo on your mics.
You're rocking with Mr.Taliaferro.com.
Y'all go to Mr.Taliaferro.com. It's going down.
My biggest gift is my voice. It allows me to speak to the culture.
Right now you're turning up on Mr.Taliaferro.com, shawty.
In 2003, Dan Rooney of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the owner at the time, he established a new rule, and it was called the Rooney Rule. How you guys doing? My name's Alfred Taliaferro. We are back. Another Taliaferro podcast is brought to you by About Damn Time Clothing. Salute the About Damn Time Clothing. The hats, apparel, you can get it all. Got links in my description if you're trying to get some of the clothing. I've had some of the clothing in previous blogs that I've shot. So if you're trying to get you some About Damn Time Clothing, the link description will be available. But on this podcast, I'm going to name it, doesn't matter if you're black or white, and I'm referencing like some old Michael Jackson for all the Michael Jackson fans out there. But this podcast is pretty much talking about what Michael and Martavis Bennett have been on record of discussing. Let's keep in mind, Michael Bennett of the Seattle Seahawks has always been vocal, demonstrative about his opinions about how the NFL handles situations. And I brought up the Rooney Rule because it's pretty much saying that every time a head coach is hired during the process, one black African American, obviously, candidate must be interviewed for the position. I want to break down some numbers to you. The NFL is 68% African American, which means, listen, 68%, 2/3 of the way, the players in this league, they're black. If you want to go through the list, off the top of the head, I don't know. But if you want to just be honest, over the last 20 years, the only two African-American head coaches to pretty much be stable and not have to worry about their job year to year has been Marvin Lewis of the Cincinnati Bengals and Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, yes, there have been other African-American coaches hired within that span, but over the last 20 years, these two guys, in the last 20 years, I'd rather say, those two guys have been the only two guys that have been able to withhold their jobs. Mike Tomlin has had success in football and Super Bowls. He took over after Bill Cowher, and Marvin Lewis has been able to pretty much hold his job. Cincinnati, it seems like they're dedicated and they're determined to make it work with him. Now, I want to say a couple things that to me stands out about where the NFL and the NBA are right now. Marcellus Bennett, he talked about how our union isn't as strong as the NBA, and the players also don't stand up. And let's look at this. When you think stars of the NFL, granted Peyton Manning just retired, he's still one of the faces of the game. Tom Brady, a face of the game. Cam Newton becoming a face of the game. I'll get to Cam individually in a second. But when you think face of the NFL, you think, to be honest with you, the Aaron Rodgers of the world, you think white quarterback. Adrian Peterson, maybe a face in past, but after the whole whooping his child thing, his reputation, his brand took a stifling hit. So when you think NFL, granted we got great wide receivers, entertaining wide receivers, vocal wide receivers who talk smack throughout the year. You have the Antonio Browns of the world, the Odell Beckhams of the world, the Dez Bryants of the world. But when you think NFL and you have a general conversation with somebody about the National Football League, 9 times out of 10, the names that'll come up for the last 10, 15 years have been Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and now Aaron Rodgers. Now we have a couple guys in Russell Wilson and Cam Newton that are starting to come up in this conversation more frequently. But I'll get to those guys in a sec. When you think the National Basketball Association, which as of 2015, in a study done by Richard Lapchick, the MEA in 2015 was composed of 74.4% blacks. So, 6% more blacks in the NBA in regards, and rather than in the NFL, where it's about 68%. So, not that big of a difference. So maybe about 3/4 in the NBA and about 2/3 in the NFL. And but when you think NBA, you think LeBron James, you think Chris Paul, you think Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, you think those guys, the Steph Currys, Kevin Durant's, all African American players. Now, what I want to break down a couple of different dynamics here. Why do you think those guys? Is it because they're the best players? Yes. But do we have great African-American players in the NFL? We do, but we don't look at them. You want to know why? One of the reasons why at the top, at the helm, the quarterback position, the money paid to quarterbacks is dramatically, it's just unproportionate. Just be honest with you. There was a big fuss made about Von Miller getting about, $74 million guaranteed. Pretty much only quarterbacks get that much money guaranteed. And he made, to be honest with you, more guaranteed money than a lot of quarterbacks. You know, when you think about that number, a lot of people were like, well, you can't give that money to a defensive guy, a guy that's not going to be around 4 or 5 years from now. He doesn't throw the football. But why are we saying that? Shouldn't he be the guy to get paid? The quarterback definitely takes less hits than what Von Miller's going to take play to play. There's not a play that doesn't go by where he has contact with the offensive lineman. And in his situation, he's so good, it's usually 2 guys that are blocking him. So why are we making a big deal that a guy of his stature gets paid $74 million in guaranteed money when we just seen Timothy Mozgov of the NBA gets $64 million guaranteed this offseason. Kent Bazemore just got a $75 million. Timothy Mozgov played about 6 minutes a game last year. He averaged about 6 minutes a game last year for the Cavs. Didn't play pretty much at all in the postseason. And we're complaining because the NFL, these guys, these defensive guys are trying to cash out. A lot of Albert Haynesworth, a guy I've met about 4 or 5 times now. Good dude to me. Doesn't have the best reputation in the NFL. At the time, at the peak of his career, when he left the Tennessee Titans, joined the Washington Redskins, he had the most money guaranteed, period, when he signed his deal with Mike Shanahan and the Washington Redskins. I don't know the figures off the top of my head exactly, but it was the highest paid contract for a guy, period, at that time. Such a big riff was made about it, and rightfully so. He didn't produce throughout that contract, and he got a lot of guaranteed money. Yes, he didn't produce. But at the same time, the Jay Cutlers of the world, he's not producing in his contract. A lot of guaranteed money given to that man. Eli Manning signed a new extension recently. At this rate, it doesn't look like he's going to play out this contract, but Eli Manning has 2 rings. And when we associate rings, we associate them with the quarterbacks, and that's just not right. Is it on the NFL Players Association to negotiate a better deal? Yes. When you want to drop figures for the money that the NFL making in comparison to what the NBA is making, it's not close. The NFL is making a lot of money. Owners in the NFL are cashing out every year. We just don't hear about these numbers. I'm telling you this. NBA owners. There was about a few years ago before this new TV deal hit or was signed with the NBA, there was a couple owners in the NBA that wasn't making positive money. The risk wasn't outweighing, the gain wasn't outweighing the risk. You had owners in the NBA actually taking L's. That's not the case now with this new TV deal and a couple other adjustments that the NBA had to make. But that's never the case in the NFL. You're always making money. Even the Jaguars owner making a lot of money. So we can go from the bottom. The Jaguars owner was making as much money as one of the top owners in the NBA. Keep that in mind. I want you to put that in perspective. These owners are getting paid. Roger Goodell, was looking at some numbers the other day about how much money he makes. It's crazy. I think I'll get you that number in a second, but I think he makes about $12 million a year. In 2012, he made $12.5 million. Net worth of about what seems like, I'm looking at his salary, about $44.2 million. This is a guy that constructs traffic. He ain't taking no hits. And granted, yes, he has to be a great businessman. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve to get paid. I just want to keep in mind he gets paid by the owners. It just seems like everybody's benefiting from this sport, that guys don't know who they are at the age of 40. You got players who don't know their names at the age of 40, 45, committing suicide at the age of 40, 45. And this is real. Regardless of if owners and players don't want to highlight this, it's real. You got guys not knowing who the hell they are at the age of 40, 45. And it seems like everybody's cashing out on their benefit and you know, being rewarded except them. You got college players not making. I'll give you an example. I just graduated from the University of Tennessee. Friend of mine, Josh Dobbs, quarterback at the University of Tennessee. Tennessee's an SEC school, meaning we don't play cupcakes of the world. Our week-to-week basis can go from playing Florida, which has one of the top defenses of the last decade. Next week, you'll play Alabama, the premier defense. You got maybe 7 or 8 players on this defensive front for these guys, for Alabama, meaning these guys, this Josh Dobbs, when he plays in Alabama, he's taking NFL hits from NFL players. These are guys that are going on into the next level to be great NFL players from Alabama. Josh Dobbs, he's not a prototypical quarterback in the NFL. He probably never make the NFL at quarterback. It probably never happened for him. I want you to keep this in mind. He's got to go out and play these Alabamas of the world, Floridas of the world, Oklahomas of the world who were in the college playoff last year, Alabama in the college playoff last year. I'm just putting in perspective that these are top teams. The year before that, he played Iowa, who was a number 5 team in the country last year when the BCS poll came out, the playoff poll came out last year. He's playing top-notch competition. He's a running quarterback, meaning these are head-on hits. He runs the football more than an NFL quarterback outside of Cam Newton and Russell Wilson of the world. He's running the football more. He's not getting paid for his services, you know. And yes, this all comes back. I believe if it changed at the top, if the NFL was able to, the PA Players Association was able to negotiate the player union was able to negotiate a better deal for the players there, I think it would all trickle down to the collegiate level. But this is ludicrous right now. I mean, you're looking at some of these numbers. Everybody's making money but the players, it seems like. Their contracts are not guaranteed. How are NBA players? And keep in mind, when they're retired, 40, 45 years old, these guys are still marketable. I'll use Grant Hill as an example. I know I'm jumping here. Grant Hill. Legs took a beating in the NBA. Could never stay healthy. He's still marketable. Grant Hill's a handsome man. You can still put him on a commercial from here on out. 40, 45, 50. At the age of 50, he'll still be on commercials. Give you another example. Derrick Rose. Career's not panning out how we expected it to. When it's all said and done, Derrick Rose is going to went through 2 max contracts. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the number. And the way the NBA is just handing out money, maybe even 3. His career stats, his numbers won't back up the money that he's made as a player. But he'll be able to kiss his kids. Be able to know who his family is at the age of 50, 55. Enjoy his life. Post basketball, post the NBA. And it's not being, you can't say this about some of these athletes in the NFL. And I just think we just got to look at this. I think it's definitely time for a lockout. It's definitely time for a lockout, you know. But who's going to be that guy? I was just having a conversation with one of my closest friends. We were talking about concerts. We were talking about how you can go to a concert now and nobody's even enjoying the show because when one of your favorite singers or rappers comes out, everybody puts their phones out, and you're not able to enjoy the show anymore. You want to know why? Because nobody wants to take that L and be the person that says they don't have that Snapchat story of Rihanna coming out of the Drake concert or Kanye West coming out with Drake. Nobody wants to take that L and don't want to say that they weren't the ones that were there for that moment. Everybody cares about what's online, and I bring that up to bring it back to the NFL here. Who's gonna take that L and be in a lockout and not make money for their families? It's just that's how it's kind of that dynamic of the owners owning the players. Who's gonna be the one to sit out and take that L for a few years for the next generation? Just doesn't seem like anybody's willing to do that. And can you blame anybody? People got families. People used to live in that lavish NFL lifestyle, or college guys trying to live that lavish NFL lifestyle. Who's gonna take that L? So we're in a tough spot here on both ends right now. And just bringing this whole thing full circle, Cam Newton becoming a superstar of the highs, played in the Super Bowl last year. Looks like his Carolina Panthers are going to be around for a long time, as long as his body can hold up. Cam's going to be expected. The more attention that he's received, he's going to be a face, right? Tom Brady on the way out. I told you earlier, obviously Peyton Manning is already out of the NFL. Tom Brady, maybe 2-3 years max. It's pretty much going to be Cam and Aaron Rodgers' league. And honestly, it's just going to be Cam. It looking like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers still has, 8-9 more good years in him, maybe 6-7 at elite level. Aaron Rodgers is 32 years old. Cam Newton entering his prime, I believe, as of last year. Cam Newton, 27 years old. Russell Wilson, already a Super Bowl champion, 27 years of age as well. Andrew Luck, around that same age as well. It looks like it's going to be their league going forward. 26 years of age is Andrew Luck. Look like it's their league. 2 white guys and 1 black guy. Who's going to be the face? Who's going to step up and tackle on some of these issues? And that's what the Bennetts that's the point they were trying to make. There's no one at the top to fight for them. It holds weight when LeBron James is the one fighting. When Steph Curry is the one fighting, that means something. When the top is fighting, it just makes the battle a little bit more easier. When it's different when LeBron James wears I don't want to pick on Timothy Mozgov, but it seems as if though I'm doing that in his blog. It's different when LeBron James is wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt, and if Timothy Mozgov is wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt. It's different if LeBron James is wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt and if Lance Stevenson is wearing it. It's just different. LeBron James' name holds more weight. More media outlets pick up this story because it's LeBron James. That's what the Bennetts were trying to. And the Bennetts are, especially Michael Bennett, one of the smartest dudes you'll find. Always does his research, always attacks political issues head on. He doesn't have the respect of what if Cam Newton comes out and speaks. And it sucks. But I mean, hey, that's where we at with it. And bring it full circle, the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule, it interviews 1 black candidate. We just can't increasingly see more black players and not see more black coaching. And this is my last point that I want to bring up. Here's the thing that's happening in a lot of these rooms. Houston, the Houston Rockets, great example. Great example. They do in the NBA, they do everything by numbers. They do everything by numbers, meaning when they went out and traded for James Harden, and they went out and signed Dwight Howard, it's the prototypical what works. They made the perfect team for NBA 2K. Great shooting guard, great center, or great defensive center who can dominate inside because he's stronger than everybody. It makes sense on 2K. If you had those two on 2K, you're going to win 95% of your games. But in reality, it didn't make sense on the court. But because a lot of these owners and these white GMs are so sold on the methods and so sold on being based on numbers, that's why you see a Mark D'Antoni continue to get job after job after job, and you see a black coach like Mark Jackson not be able to get employed. This is real life, guys. Mark Jackson led the Golden State Warriors to about, 60, 62, 63 wins, somewhere along the lines of that before he lost his job to Steve Kerr. And I'm not knocking Steve Kerr because he definitely took that team to another level. But the Mark Jacksons of the world can't find employment. Lionel Hollins, of the world struggling for employment. It just seems as though we're stuck on the black coach being the assistant coach and not the head coach. Patrick Ewing still ain't got a shot at the head coach in this league. One of the greatest basketball players ever. Still ain't got a shot at it. You know? And it sucks because when you're interviewing the black coach, they're not saying the right things. They're not hitting at the key words that a white coach knows what to say in these interviews. This is reality, people. This is really what's going on in these meetings. Mark D'Antoni knows those key words, I would imagine. He knows what to say. He knows how to, say, look, I ran this system, the Steve Nash system, but people ain't giving the credit to Steve Nash. That was Steve Nash running that damn system, making that offense look as fluid as it did. He was the coach on the court. I'd rather you hire Steve Nash as a coach than Mark D'Antoni. This guy is terrible in L.A., terrible in New York. Go look at the records. Terrible. Steady getting opportunities. And it's just you're looking at the future of things. It doesn't look like it's getting better. I'm looking at the landscape. The number of black players in the NBA is going to get higher and higher. Not growing to Larry Birds like we used to. We tried it with Andrew Morrison. It didn't work out. We thought he was the second coming of Larry Bird. It just didn't happen. J.J. Redick. Decent to good NBA player. Not going to be your star that you need. Closest thing we got right now is Steph Curry. To a player that fits what it seems as if, though, what the world wants as their star. You don't want the 6'7", 6'8" LeBron James, but you just got to respect what the man does. But closing here, I just want you to understand that a lot of these black coaches are not getting shots, NBA and NFL, because they don't hit those key words in these negotiations and these meetings that a white coach might hit. But that doesn't mean anything because I guarantee you these players need black coaches on their behind. I'll give you another example. I'm from Memphis. Memphis Tigers, Josh Pastner. When he came in to Memphis, he came in with a recruiting class that included a guy named Joe Jackson, one of the biggest recruits to ever hit the city of Memphis. Chris Crawford, a highly touted recruit out of the city of Memphis. A couple other guys. Tariq Black, highly recruited guy in Memphis. These are top recruits. Memphis is a pretty big basketball city. Had an Adonis Thomas on the team as well. Had a lot of nice pieces. Was not ever able to get through to the guys because they needed a guy that was going to be on their ass. They needed a black coach they needed a Conzo Martin type coach, a coach that wasn't going for no nonsense. That's what they needed, just being honest. And in these NBA and NFL locker rooms, they need that black coach that they just ain't going for that BS, And it just sucks to see the landscape of some of these coaches, these coaches not getting shots and watching Mark Jackson have to literally in Game 7 we'll take it back last year, Game 6, literally watch the Golden State Warriors win a championship, and it's a team that he put together. He put the damn team together. He's a commentator for ESPN. He's watching the team. He drafted Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and he's watching Steve Kerr walk out with his championship with a team that he put together. And it's because Mark Jackson just didn't have, from what we've been hearing, the social skills with the ownership and didn't know how to get his point across the way a Steve Kerr can. And it sucks that we're just watching a lot of black coaches collect dust. Look at the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm keeping it very Tennessee with this podcast. Lionel Hollins lost his job to Dave Yeager. And they were saying that it was rumors and reports were coming out of Memphis that Dave Yeager was the guy behind Memphis the whole time. The defensive mind that really was the voice for that wasn't the case. That was not the case. As a matter of fact, Memphis has not reached the level that they were with Lionel Hollins as their coach. Zach Randolph, been told that he was affected personally by Lionel Hollins being dismissed as head coach for the Grizzlies. So I just wanted to bring up some of these things that affect the coaching landscape and why I hate looking at what I'm looking at right here. I just know that a lot of black coaches not going to get shots because of the things they're saying. They're not appeasing to the white GM, the white owner, the way that a white coach will, a white potential coach would. And it sucks. It really does. And it doesn't seem like that's going to change. It just, how can we continue to allow this happen when we have increasingly black players? It's the reality of the situation. We have more black players than ever in every sport. And that's got to affect the coaches in some kind of way. We're not growing the game. You know, the Rooney Rule is not doing what it set out to do. Yes, the black candidate is getting that shot. But we have not seen an increase in black coaches. So I'm going to close that podcast with that. It doesn't matter if you're black or white. The name of the podcast, my name is Mr. Taliaferro. You're currently tuning in to Mr. Taliaferro TV. Now, thank you for your time. I just don't take it for granted. You could be somewhere else. But thank you for going on this journey with me, and we're going to get better. I'm going to figure this damn thing out, I promise. This podcast was brought to you by About Damn Time Clothing. Check the links in my description. Figure out where you can buy About Damn Time Clothing at. If you're a fan of the clothing, you like the apparel, talk to me. In my comment box, like always, I go by the name of Taliaferro. It's been another podcast. Thank you for your time. Salute. I'm out.